You ever had that moment where there's either a video game, TV show, or movie that you loved so much as a kid and you don't seem to like it anymore as a teenager or adult? Yes, it's always good to have a bit of nostalgia every now and then where we look back on our childhood as we remember watching many cartoons, movies, and playing video games. Nostalgia is a nice thing to have, but that doesn't always mean that what we thought was good as a kid is still good as a teenager or adult, which is why I'm here to give you my top 5 video games that I used to like back as a kid, and it doesn't age well for me at all as a teenager. Now bear in mind, none of these games on this list are horrible games, and I don't hate them so much. I just feel that they don't make up to the greatness as I thought they did as a kid. So, with that said, here's my top 5 video games that I enjoyed in the past as a kid, and now I don't care for anymore as a teenager. Standing at number 5, Crash Nitro Car. I'm gonna say this right off the bat, I am not a big fan of the Crash Bandicoot racing games. Crash Team Racing, even though it's not the best racer I've played on the PS1, is still pretty fun to play. Crash Tag Team Racing was okay, but way too easy in my book. But the one I like the least is Crash Nitro Car. I will admit I had a lot of nostalgia for this game, but playing it now doesn't age well for me much. The gameplay and controls for this game is almost exactly the same as Crash Team Racing. This wasn't much of a big deal for me as a kid, but as a teenager, the gameplay can get old after a while if you've already played Crash Team Racing. And the story for some reason kinda feels like something from Space Jam, because it had aliens capturing anthropomorphic characters for their entertainment purposes, and that they have to fight each other in a sport to win their freedom. Yeah, Space Jam much? The races themselves are, again, kinda like the ones from Crash Team Racing, only that the characters talk during the races, which to be honest gets irritating.
Come at me, baby! Get some! Better watch your six!
But that's not the worst part of this game. The worst part of this game is the AI from hell. Even as a kid, the AI had me going through temper tantrums and biting my controller constantly because the AI are really desperate in this game that they'll do anything to win first place. And as a teenager, it frustrates me even more. Don't get me wrong, I'm fine with challenge, but as long as it's fair. But I will admit, I like the track designs of this game more than the ones in Crash Team Racing, as they feel vibrant and alive. I put this game at number 5 because it's not a terrible game. It's not a game that's glitchy or completely broken, but if you've played Crash Team Racing a lot, then chances are you're going to get bored of this game quite quickly after a few hours. Overall, the Crash Bandicoot racing games are still good, but they cannot compete with the awesomeness of Jak X Combat Racing. Standing at number 4. XSquad. Okay, this is a really forgotten game, so I'll explain. XSquad was one of the PlayStation 2's launch titles released in late 2000, which just like other PS2 launch titles, wasn't very successful. It was also one of the PS2's first third-person shooters. Back as a kid, I was so addicted to this game, however playing it now I realised that it's a heavily flawed game. Sure, the first thing you notice is that the game lacks gameplay wow factor, but trust me when I say that that's not the biggest problem with the game. First of all, the weapons they give you are generic and completely forgettable, the aiming system is really weak, the levels themselves are huge that you can sometimes get lost, and the story makes no sense whatsoever. Even today as a teenager, I don't even know where the story is going except that there's some professor who's been kidnapped and that a team named XSquad, hence the name of the game, is trying to rescue her. The dialogue written in this game is so poor and generic. In fact, just listen to the dialogue in this scene and see if you can make a bit of sense out of it.
My adrenaline's going now.
Wait a minute, what's this?
I wonder if they got the intruders. If they're still alive, we should make sure the job is done right. You are tough. Be prepared.
Someone's here. What the hell?
Everybody, let's get in there. Like a library in here.
What's it like over there? The hush is deafening.
Stay focused, got it?
Roger.
Another annoying thing about this game is that in some areas in the levels are flooded with enemies that it gets insane. Heck, there are also some enemies that carry the most powerful weapons even in the first levels, which makes things even more crazy, and that if you're low on health, you're gonna die right away if you come face to face with these maniacs. Believe it or not, there are also boss battles in this game too, which also aren't very memorable, but are still challenging to fight at times. But the overall highlight of this game for me is the soundtrack. This is one of the most hardcore soundtracks I've heard in a video game. Hell yes! these songs are pumped with catchy beats and badass rhythms to it, then it makes it the best part about this game. Other than that, even though this game is forgotten, that doesn't mean it's underrated, as it is pretty mediocre and uninspired. Plus there are other third-person shooters out there that I like more than this one, but it still gets credit for its awesome soundtrack. Standing at number 3, A Bug's Life the video game. Yeah, the first movie-based game on this list. Out of all the video games based on Disney/Pixar movies, this one's one of the most memorable for most people for some reason. In A Bug's Life the video game, you go through linear and non-linear levels based on the settings of the movie, with the usual point A to point B objective. The other objectives of each level are collecting grains and collecting letters of Flick's name to restore your health or give you an extra life. Kinda like Donkey Kong Country but in 3D. This isn't the worst Disney/Pixar game I've played, but it isn't my favourite either. Although I don't think the game is easy as other people say, the gameplay can be quite stiff. You have to carry these seeds and put them in positions to help you get to certain locations you can't reach on foot, like bouncing on mushrooms, climbing on plants, etc. Throwing berries is the only way to defend yourself in this game. It's not a bad thing, but could have been a little bit better in some areas. The camera for this game is also annoying. There are no camera controls to move the camera left or right, so positioning the camera in a good enough angle can be irritating. As for the music of the game, the only songs I liked were the song of the first level and the boss battle songs. As for the others, they were just alright. Not that catchy, but alright. I did buy this game off the PlayStation Store a few months ago for nostalgia purposes, and in my opinion, this game doesn't age well for me as it does for other nostalgia gamers. But hey, what do you expect from a Disney/Pixar movie-based game? Standing at number 2, Sonic Heroes. Now let me make one thing clear. I do not hate nor do I love the 3D Sonic games. There are some that I really like, some that are just okay, and others that are just mediocre. The only one that I did have the most nostalgia for was Sonic Heroes. In fact, this was actually the first Sonic game I owned. I did play the adventure games first, but I played these at an old friend's house. The reason why I was only able to get Sonic Heroes is that it was the first original Sonic game on the PlayStation 2. Now, Sonic Heroes is a love-hate game in the Sonic series with the fanbase. Some people love it to death, and others completely tear it apart. For me, it's not the worst Sonic game I've ever played, but it is unenjoyable for me. First is that the controls are far too slippery that it can lead to cheap deaths. Second is that some of the levels are too linear, that landing on a certain platform is tough due to the damn slippery controls. Plus, just like XSquad, the third problem I have with this game is the dialogue. It's not really a big issue, but listening to the characters say random lines out of nowhere is what distracts me in the gameplay, due to how irritating it is.
What a huge plant! The buildings are so tall, it's making my head spin!
Rocky, where are you?
It looks like we'll be able to move on.
No problem. Let's get moving.
The game can also get very repetitive because every team in the game has the same set of levels and boss battles. The only differences are Team Rose's levels are shorter and easier, and Team Chaotix's levels have missions where you collect items or destroy certain targets. Also, the boss battles weren't that special either, because to beat them easily you have to charge up the Team Blast meter and Team Blast them until they're defeated. But also, just like XSquad, the soundtrack is my favourite part of the game. The music truly captures what a 3D Sonic game should have. This is arguably one of the best soundtracks in the Sonic the Hedgehog series, if not the best. My favourites were the Ocean Palace, Grand Metropolis, Bullet Station, and the boss battle of the Egg Emperor. Anyway, the concept of the teamwork was really creative, but the execution needed a lot of work. It gets frustrating having to constantly switch characters to get through a certain obstacle. I really wonder why I loved this game so much as a kid, but that's probably because it was one of the first Sonic games I played. Either way, I can't enjoy this much at all as of today, because it is heavily flawed in my book, and I do know of the new Sonic game coming for Sonic's 20th anniversary. And finally, standing at number 1 is Into the Matrix. Now I know that I said that none of the games on this list are horrible games, But now I take that back. Let me start by saying I love the Matrix movies for their cyberpunk stories and memorable action scenes, with the possible exception of the third one. However, Into the Matrix was actually how I found out about the Matrix in the first place. No joke, it was. And I seriously have no idea why I adored this game so much back in the day. I used to wonder why so many people disliked this game, but when I bought the game again a few weeks ago, it's no wonder why. The game has a lot of bugs and minor glitches, aiming system is extremely poor, the combat is fun at first but does get repetitive after a while, and the music is dull and mediocre, but at least captures the sense from the Matrix movies. In Into the Matrix you have the option to play as either Niobe or Ghost, two minor characters from the Matrix Reloaded. This isn't a bad thing, but it's a little confusing for those who don't know these characters. Now I like how the game brings in characters from the Matrix Reloaded and has levels based on the settings from the movie, like the freeway chase, which I'll admit is great fan service. But still, I honestly hated the driving mechanics in this game. It was just horrible. You'll always keep bumping into walls and objects, making things frustrating. I also found those shooting levels with Ghost to be unbelievably easy, as they just had you shooting down police cars and enemies, and the story for the game just wasn't that interesting. It's just a backstory on what happened to two minor characters in The Matrix Reloaded. The game overall is just a rushed mess. I really do wish I knew why I loved this game as a kid. I guess I was pretty dumb back then. So there you have it. Into the Matrix is the #1 game I used to love as a kid and now I don't anymore. If you enjoyed this video, leave a comment below and I'll see you all in the next video.